Hey, what's up guys, it's Nick too, and today I'm going to be going over why Enshrouded is an absolute must-play game in 2025. After playing it for the first time, I can confidently say Enshrouded is easily one of the best survival games out there, and most people seem to agree given the overwhelming positive reviews over on Steam, making it one of the most positively reviewed games ever. Enshrouded has been out for nearly 2 years now, where it previously reached a peak of over 160k players on launch. People just absolutely adored this game, and I can't believe that I've been under a rock for so long and just somehow had no idea about it. But since it came out, the devs have been consistently updating the game and extending it, and recently they even came out with a brand new update, Wake of the Waters. Is one of the largest free updates I've ever seen for any game. It's pretty insane. I'll talk about what the update actually brings in a bit, but first, if you've been under a rock just like me, let's briefly kind of talk about what Enshrouded actually is. Before I do though, I want to mention that this video is actually sponsored, but all of the opinions are my own. Keen Games gave me like full creative freedom for this video. There's literally zero requirements or restrictions or anything for the video, which is very rare, and it kind of just speaks to how confident they are in their own product. So if you want to check the game out and also help me out in the process, make sure to use my link down in the description. And the game's actually on sale up until November 24th if you are interested in that. So what can you actually expect from Enshrouded? Enshrouded is of course primarily a survival game, but it has an enormous amount of like action and RPG mechanics that I absolutely adore. Not to mention it's co-op and you can play with up to 16 people at once, which is pretty insane. I've been having a ton of fun playing it with friends, so I would highly recommend playing it with people, but you can obviously play it solo as well. You kind of just create a character and are set to explore the beautifully handcrafted, expansive world of Embervale, once a thriving land which is now consumed by a dark miasma known as the Shroud. You can explore the absolutely massive world with tons of different regions, biomes. There's like puzzle towers to unlock, underground dungeons, all sorts of treasures to discover, a lot of different enemies and even bosses that you can hunt down and flex your combat skills on, all the while scavenging anything and everything that you can in order to craft armor, get some weapons, and eventually build your very own massive base from the ground up, where you can heavily customize it with the vast assortment of furniture and material options. The building system in this game is extremely intuitive and flexible due to it being voxel based, and the things that I've seen people make are truly insane. That's probably one of the strong suits of the game, to be honest with you. But Enshrouded has something for pretty much everyone. The combat is engaging and satisfying with tons of different weapon options, block and parry mechanics, epic boss fights, and even skill trees where you can specialize your character to make it pretty much whatever you want it to be, unlocking very strong passives in the process and even active abilities that are going to heavily synergize with whatever your preferred playstyle might be. If exploration is more your thing, the game is completely massive, it's entirely open world, and there's very low friction methods of traversal, which is just a ton of fun to kind of run around and explore. Personally, that's probably my favorite thing about the game. But ultimately, your primary goal is to follow a lot of kind of the quest lines that are scattered all throughout the world. You'll unlock a whole bunch of stuff in the process, but you eventually want to be strong enough to venture through the various shroud-filled danger zones in order to uncover secret knowledge, but most importantly, to get some loot. The gameplay loop is overall very satisfying, and if you enjoy survival games that have like good combat, some in-depth building systems, and tons of exploration, Enshrouded is definitely for you. If you're a returning player or a new player that's kind of just curious about what the update actually has to offer, strap in because the Wake of Water update brings more to the game than you would expect most paid games to have in a fully paid DLC. The first and probably most substantial thing is the addition of dynamically simulated water. This has an enormous amount of implications for the game, and once you play the update, you'll be able to see that for yourself. You can, of course, just like dive in and swim underwater, and that's fun enough, just like you'd expect. There's even like an oxygen mechanic, so you can't be down there too long, and there's a lot of underwater environments to explore. The water also just happens to look great, but there's way more to it than that. A ton of new tools that they put in so that you can like manipulate water flow, and then you can use the water to, say, irrigate crops or build a water wheel powered crafting setup. You can build your base entirely underwater if you wanted to, or you can even just like use the water as decoration. There's a whole bunch of stuff that you can do, kind of build around the water, which is pretty cool. And something that I really like, and a lot of people have mentioned in their videos as well, is that the water physics in this game are insanely impressive. Like, you'd think that they have Mr. Isaac Newton himself over there on payroll. It behaves exactly how you'd expect it to, and you can kind of manipulate and do all sorts of really cool stuff with the water, which is pretty mind-blowing. There's also even fishing in the game now, which has a lot of depth to it on its own as a system overall, but that's honestly just the tip of the iceberg for what the update has to offer. There's a brand new biome, the Veil Water Basin, packed with ancient temples, sunken ruins, all sorts of new places to explore, with a brand new enemy race, the Drac, who's definitely going to kick your ass when given the opportunity, but they also drop some pretty good loot, so it ends up being alright. There's a massive level cap increase as well, allowing you to get all the way up to level 45, so you get a ton of extra skill points and you can expand upon your build. And the skill tree itself got expanded as well with some brand new abilities, which is a lot of fun. Weapon tiers also got up to level 50 because the level cap got increased. And speaking of weapons, there's a brand new weapon type, the Great Swords, which are exceptionally satisfying to use. They look great, they're nice and bulky, but they do crazy damage, and they make you feel like a complete badass, especially when spinning to win, which is one of the brand new abilities that they put in the skill tree. There's also just been an enormous amount of balance and like overall quality of life changes, such as being able to respawn at the last save point. So overall, the game is just much more player friendly than it has been in the past, and you'll get significantly more loot than you used to, with drop chances being reworked. Those are kind of the major changes and improvements that were worth mentioning, but there's so much more, and you can see that in this absolutely massive list of patch notes that they dropped for this update. If I were to mention it all, I would kind of just be sitting here talking for like half an hour, but considering it's a free update, it's just beyond massive, and if you haven't played the game before, it's like there isn't going to be a better time to hop in. I guess maybe once the next update comes out, that would be technically better. But I mean, the game's on sale. Just grab it right now. There's a crazy amount of content to sink your teeth into. And as myself, being somebody that hasn't played it before, and I just got the opportunity to recently, and I've been playing it nonstop ever since, I kind of just wanted to touch on what some of my favorite aspects of the game actually were, and what I think makes Enshrouded stand out among its competition. The one quick thing is I just like the aesthetic. I'm a little bit impartial to I don't want to say like cartoony, just not like hyper realistic. And usually these games lend themselves to better gameplay when it's not like super rigid and very realistic. You can kind of like be a little bit more goofy, and then in that way, it's a lot smoother and just kind of feels a lot better to play. My settings aren't particularly high at all. I have them actually pretty low, so I get good FPS, and I still think the game looks pretty good. I just like this sort of art style, so that's something that initially drew me to the game. Another thing that I quite like about the game is there's a lot of RPG mechanics. So if you guys know me, obviously I make a lot of build videos, and I absolutely love RPGs. Been playing them since the womb, basically. And in this game, there's a whole bunch of different weapons that are a lot of fun to use, and you can see there's even like rarities of weapons, and different weapons will have different effects on them. So for example, I have this wand here, and if I level it up, it'll get more and more powerful, and different wands will have different bonuses that it'll get upon leveling up, and you can kind of build entirely around a certain weapon type if you want. So in one way that I could build around it, I could build around it with my gear. So for example, don't look at the rest of my gear, but like I have these gloves here that give me mana regen, fire damage, and wand damage. So I happen to be using a fire wand, so that works perfectly. And then in my skill tree here, the skill tree is insane, by the way. There's so much you can do in here, a ton of customization, a lot of different ways to set it up. But I have a lot of stuff related to wands. So I have a bunch of wand damage, fire damage, all sorts of stuff like that. When I kill an enemy, I get like a little minions every once in a while, which is pretty cool. But there's also stuff like traversal related things in here. So it's not just like whatever combat archetype you want to go for. There's a lot of functional and quality of life stuff in here too. So for example, jumping while gliding will give you a little bit of a boost. So I can do that here. Nice. So that kind of helps you traverse. And there's a whole bunch of stuff relating to stamina. So I have a bunch of like stamina related stuff here. And I have like health. You gain one extra food slot. Stamina, health regen, all sorts of survival related stuff. And there's a lot of abilities in here. Eventually, I want to try the Great Swords, which seem like a lot of fun. And you get the Whirlwind ability here, so I'm super excited to try that out. But generally what I've been going for, like I have Blink, which is pretty fun to use. I have just a whole bunch of like damage with wand related stuff. Obviously, get some health scaling here. This one is pretty, where is it? This node is really good. You like stun enemies for 4 seconds if I land crits. So I'm incentivized to kind of build a little bit more into crits. Obviously, there's like attributes here, and based on which attributes you have, you can like scale your magic damage, for example, or scale your health based on your int. So there's a lot of different ways you can mix and match, and you don't have to go in any particular order. You could be a tank, battle mage, or a healer, ranger if you wanted. There's all sorts of different stuff, and you can kind of just do whatever you want, which I quite like. kind of based on what you want to do, you kind of like make a gear set for it and try to get a lot of the attributes and stuff that actually match what you're going for. Also, this tab, which I quite like, that just has all the information that you could ever possibly need. So you just have all your stats here displayed in a pretty good numerical value here, all the percentages. So you can see my crit chance is very low, but my crit damage is pretty decent. And 40% fire damage, 30% shock damage. And you also have like resistance and health related stuff. So it's kind of just nice to have that. A lot of games, it's kind of expected, right? But a lot of survival games aren't going to have like this sort of information. And it kind of just makes my job a lot easier. Another small thing but makes a big difference is the difficulty setting tab. So in here, you can kind of almost like mod your game if you wanted to, but without actually using cheats. You know, you can just do it in game. So something that I used particularly was I just wanted to get a little bit more XP. So I just cranked up the combat XP, cranked up the quest XP just because I wanted more skill points. But otherwise, I kind of kept most of the stuff the same. I increased my stamina because stamina was annoying the hell out of me. Same was mana. So I just maxed that out. But a lot of people might see it as cheating. You know, you can do whatever you want in here. But I think it's cool to just have the option. Weapon durability is also something I found to be really annoying. So the fact that they just let you turn it off and just have more fun that way is quite nice, and everything is like individual, right? You don't have to do hacker mode versus not hacker mode. You can still have a genuine and authentic experience while just editing the things that bother you the most. My next favorite thing about the game is that it isn't heavily structured. I guess not a lot of survival games really are, but some of them are structured in kind of the way that the world is set up. You're kind of like not meant to go certain places. The way that this game's map and world is set up is that if there's a will, there's a way. You can kind of get anywhere that you want, and it's really fun to just like mess around with my friends, just run all over the place. And if there's somewhere that I think looks cool, I can just go over. There's nothing really preventing me. There might be there might be a guy that's like, you know, way higher level than me by the time I get there, and he might kick my ass, but that'll give me the motivation to then like grind up and make myself stronger and want to revisit that place later. But there's not really any like hard restrictions in terms of where I want to go. I like to kind of just walk around, and like if I want to go somewhere, I just want to go there. I hate when there's like a mountain that looks like you can go up it, but you actually can't. In this game, you can just beat the shit out of the mountain until you can eventually climb it up if you really want to. It's also really fun to kind of just glide around. It doesn't like take 10 years to travel from point A to point B. And also the game looks incredibly scenic when you actually doing the gliding around. So yeah, Enshrouded has a ton to offer. I've been having a lot of fun playing with my friends, and I'm going to continue to play, and I'm really excited to see how the game kind of evolves over time, especially with more free-to-play updates. I hope that this video inspired you guys to kind of check out the game, and I was happy to kind of just talk about some of the things that I thought were interesting. Thanks for watching, and a big thanks to Keen Games for sponsoring today's video.